All right, thanks, Dave. Well, some union workers from the Minnesota Sex Offender Program in Moose Lake gathered outside the DECC today. Union reps say they're raising awareness for staffing, retention, and safety issues at the facility. Leaders with MAPE, the Minnesota Association of Professional Employees Local 1701, held an informational picket to coincide with the DFL convention. According to union leaders, the goal was to engage public officials to consider outside support and resources to help with staffing issues. Union reps indicate security staffing is down to 65% of desired levels, and therapy staffing is down to 55 to 60% of desired levels. Now, according to MAPE's Region 17 Director David Klana, workers at MSOP are stewards of a large amount of taxpayer investment, and the program needs to make sure it has outcomes for people in treatment.
So we want them to make progress in a manner that reflects their willingness to do the work. And if we don't have the resources in terms of staffing and safety, are we really stewarding the public's resources as well as we could be?
Klana says each person in treatment costs the public about $470 per day. Union reps indicate in February, MAPE held a legislative listening session requesting an independent operational audit of the MSOP. They also advocated for legislation to protect workers who identify safety issues. According to MAPE, that legislation did not pass, and they are awaiting a follow-up regarding the audit request. And we reached out to the Minnesota Department of Human Services in response to MAPE's picket. They provided us with the following statement saying the MSOP staff are dedicated professionals who are committed to providing quality programming in a safe environment. Their safety is the top priority, and DHS meets with union staff regularly to collaborate on how to maintain safety and support for employees and fill open positions.